If there's one thing that I've learned in business and in life, if everything is important, nothing is. And one of the most expensive habits that we can have as business leaders is holding on to things, whether it be like offers that aren't converting, like specific processes because they've worked before, even people, right? Like you're so like stuck on the specific team member because they've been with you since the beginning, but they're not the most efficient or effective. We tend to keep things beyond their expiration date just because. Um, and it's, we've talked about it before, right? The nervous system responses and the way that we just respond to things. And, the way that I like to approach deletion is it's 100% based on your code, right? We've talked about the codes thus far and PACE, PACE, right? Are your producer, activator, connector, evaluator. And based on those personalized codes, because they're coded into your system. And also looking at the time wheel, time, ideas, money, energy, and also your nervous system default based on where you sit on these quadrants, right? Fight, flight, fawn, freeze. We're going to be looking at all of that in the process of how you make the decision to delete. So, anyway, hello and welcome to another episode of the Decoded Leadership Podcast. Today, we're going to be decoding how each capacity code approaches the deletion process. The decisions about what to cut, what to keep, and what you finally let go. And, we're going to look at your defaults and how like your defaults are really running the show and kind of getting in the way of the growth that you're trying to create in your business. So let's start it off with the producer. As always, I always start with the producer one, because you're like you know, like give me the stuff and then I'm out. Because I know for the producers, you're not going to sit here and listen to the whole episode, as opposed to the evaluators, or PACE, the evaluators come last. The evaluators, they want to evaluate how every other type would do the things. So like they will sit and listen to the whole episode and like, I mean, maybe, right. There's different spectrums of each archetype, and they're also like blended. So like a pure producer would be pure, and a pure evaluator would be like want to evaluate everything. But at the end of the day, we all have our archetype defaults, and this is just how it goes. So starting off with the producer. So your default when it comes to deleting things is you tend to keep outdated systems because they work. Again, your driver, like if you sit on the money quadrant of the time wheel, it's like your driver is money and success. It's like, well, this worked. So if this system worked, like, why are we going to throw it out? But on the flip side, you are driven for, more money and more success. So you will drop certain things in order to get increased money and success. But in the case of deletion, you will hang on to things that have produced results in the past because they work, and you're more about keeping what works because it protects your revenue. And so anyway, the again, you guys sit on the money quadrant. So you are wired to safeguard your income streams. And so also offers, like when it comes to offers, like, well, this is a gold mine and then it works until it doesn't. Is a tried and true system. Like, let's just do the thing. So combined also with the decision from the previous episode, like deciding to delete, we're going to combine kind of those two episodes here in this one. But when you're making the decision to delete, you have to understand that your nervous system is operating on fight mode, right? So you're going to fight for what is familiar, and you're going to fight ultimately because you sit on the money quadrant, you're going to fight for what's producing money and success. But in this fighting mode stage, you're going to stifle innovation, right? Again, the activator sits on the ideas quadrant. They are full of ideas and innovation. But if you're just driving to success, like this is successful, let's just keep doing the thing because it's made us money, it's made us successful, your ability to innovate gets shrunken. And then you will tend to burn resource maintaining what should be cut at the end of the day. So when we're looking at how to, how to shore up these costs in your business, here's a question that you can ask yourself. If I delete this, would it actually harm my revenue? Because again, you're a driver on the time wheel, money and success. Will it actually harm cut revenue, or is it just my comfort that's at stake? Like your nervous system response of like fighting for that. So again, what's at stake, and would it cut my revenue? Because that's at the end of the day your driver. Okay, A for activator. Your default is ideas. You sit on the ideas quadrant. So you have a lot of ideas and you like to start too many projects. It's like, oh, I have this project and I have this project. And in your mind, because you have a team, you're like, okay, like I have a lot of ideas. I can't execute on all of them, but I have a team and let's do all things, you know? But when it's like you have to understand your team can get overloaded with all of your ideas. And your team can get frustrated. So that's a cost as well, right? And I get it, right? You sit on the ideas quadrant on the time wheel and you thrive on creation energy. It's literally like what you do. Like I create, I live, therefore I create, or I create, therefore I live. If you're not creating, you're dying. But like I said, on the opposite side of the wheel is the execution piece, right? Ideas and executions on the opposite side. So you have to, have that balance of, okay, idea generation is great, creation is great. How can we, get more into execution phase? And if we're looking at deletion in this case, right, for this episode, we're looking at thinking of things to delete. It's like, how many ideas are up here on the drawing board, just kind of taking up space? Which one of these ideas is actually going to move the needle and get us to the success that we want to get to, right? Because at the end of the day, we are, we need to know that it's all about money. It's like, if you're not making money in your business, do you even have a business, right? The IRS is going to be like, hey, like maybe this is a hobby. So, right? Um, you have to start looking at that. And when we're bringing in the nervous system default of flight for you, and this is where it gets tricky, right? A lot of times, like you will run to different ideas and you will, like, again, the nervous system wants us to stay safe. Like the flight, it's like sometimes like I have a client who is launching and it's like, why are you looking at like the website and changing things on the website? Because it's not the landing page, it's like for her like overall website. It's like I don't think we need to make changes to the website right now. We kind of need to get the slides, everything ready for your upcoming masterclass. So like that's more important. But because the stress of the launch has been, affecting her, so the flight is very apparent when you're under stress. So again, when you're looking at deletion from your nervous system response, a lot of times it's like bing, 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 like the fluttering, like think of like a butterfly just fluttering from idea to idea, that flight, that flight pattern that you have, flittering around to these different ideas is really costing you because it's spreading your team too thin. Like, okay, which one do you want me to execute? It's like, well, all of them. It's like, well, we can't necessarily execute all of them. right now because, right, your team has a limited capacity to execute. So you have to leverage that. And, like when you lose focus, like if your energy is like going in 100 different directions, if you have 100% of capacity and you have 100 directions, it's like each idea is only getting 1% of your attention. You know what I mean? So the deletion part is really important because it's like, how many ideas do you want to have running at the same time? And it's not that we have to wipe them completely from memory. It's like we're just taking them off the board, off the execution board for right now, putting them in a safe space because I get it. Ideas for you as activator, so important. But again, on the opposite side of the ideas on the time wheel is execution. And are you executing these ideas? If not, it's it's taking a bandwidth in your energy fields. Like you don't need that, right? And so before you start something new, try as best as you can, try to end that one thing first. And I get it. Especially like if you're manifesting generator, you have a lot of energy and you have a lot of creation energy. You have a lot of energy to sustain the execution piece. But as best as you can, you want to one for the deletion purpose of this podcast, right? Delete as much as you can from like the active project status. And then before you start on a new project, like leave it up on the board. It's fine. But like try to execute one thing as best possible. And it doesn't mean that you can't have multiple team members working on different projects. But like keep keep people in their lane. Like, okay, I have a website project going. Cool. Website person can stick it and run with it, right? But don't have them doing like two different websites all at the same time. So that's dividing their attention. And when you have divided attention, like like you're dividing like the 100% into 50%. And so you're getting 50% effort on that one thing. So you don't want that, right? You don't want that. So again, try as best as you can to have not as many active projects on the board. And if you can have multiple projects running at a time, but make sure that each team member that is assigned has a focus of like, okay, doing this one thing one at a time. That would just save your sanity, save their sanity, and honestly, it'll save your sanity and cut down on costs because you actually get things done and you can completely take it off the board. You're not going to have this, list of like uncompleted projects because that just will take away your energy. So, yeah. Next is the connector, right? PACE connector. And so because your connector personality is, we're going to talk about relationships and team. Because again, you sit on the time quadrant of the time wheel. And in the time quadrant, like I explained previously, time, if you look at your calendar, time is spent with people. So that's why relationships is the biggest piece of the time quadrant in the time wheel concept. So, you know, I guess your biggest deletion Achilles heel is not deleting people when they need to be deleted. And you try to justify keeping someone on your team because whether like, oh, they've been here so long or they know all of my systems, whatever it is, is deletion of people is the hardest part for you because your desire for harmony and protecting relationships is so important. And how this shows up, like with your nervous system, is the fawn mode. We've talked about the fawning, and you tend to really like fawn, not necessarily fawn over people, but fawning is a part of like, oh, it's okay. Like if someone makes a mistake and you're like, damn, Skippy, like this was a huge mistake. And I get it. We do have to have some kind of, love and compassion. But when you're bending over backwards, like when you really probably should have let this team member go because they're just not a good fit for what you need them to do. Because again, deleting and releasing relationships goes both ways. Like energetically, like they're not a good fit for you. Energetically, you're not a good fit for them just because it's misaligned. And so, right, and misalignment can come in like keeping misaligned people, keeping misaligned offers because you have that, like, oh, like that nostalgia that, it's kind of, it's good, but then it also comes at a cost. So, keeping these things, misaligned offers, processes, or hires too long is really cutting into your bottom line. So, the fix for this is you can ask yourself, am I keeping this to avoid an uncomfortable conversation? Right? Whether it's, I mean, it could be even like software, like deleting a software because you're so used to it and you've been using it for a long time. It's like, well, is it really like doing more harm than good because it's just clunky and is really time to get rid of it and upgrade and move into something else? But are you like fixing it, band-aiding it because the nostalgia, like I just can't let it go. Because you have that connection, right? As a connector, you have a connection to people, places, things, and that connector piece, this is where it costs you money in your business. So again, we went through the first three. Last but not least, my evaluators, I love you, but your default is overanalyzing what to cut, and like just overanalyzing delays you taking action and actually doing the deleting. And again, you guys sit in the energy quadrant, and so the focus for you, ends up being conservation. Um, And when I'm talking about conservation, is energy conservation, resource conservation. You're really doing the data analysis of like, should I not? Should I not? And all of that waffling, going back and forth, the analysis paralysis is actually causing an energy drain. It's literally causing you an energy drain. And like, could you just make a decision? But your nervous system default is the freeze mode. And so this is right. That freeze mode is like, well, if I don't make a decision, then I can keep analyzing the data until I make the best decision. And then I can make a decision, but you get stuck in this whole evaluation process, which is the analysis paralysis, and no decision, no deletion is happening. And, like they say, waste compounds over time, and your opportunities for streamlining your business they're lost. And if you do it slowly, right, you can't, like, again, you're not going to go against your code. You're not going to go against, like, this is how I operate. This is my codus operandi, like the way that I'm coded and the way that I operate. But yeah, like my whole thing is to get you to one, understand this is what is happening and this is your nervous system reacting. And how can you get out of that and into where, you know, your business can move, you have momentum, you are operating efficiently and effectively. And so, what would work best for you, how to just curtail these issues is setting maybe a 1 week deadline. Okay, like I'll give myself a week to get all the pros and cons before I delete this thing. Cause I get it. Like if you cancel something, a lot of times, like say you have a subscription to some kind of software, and you decide to get rid of it, then it's like there's a whole like decoupling that has to happen, like moving from one software to another. So I get it. The devil's is in the details, and making that decision will cost you one way or the other. But in this case, we're talking about how a decision is costing you to keep it, right? Not deleting something is costing you. So set yourself a 1 week deadline. Okay. If today is Monday, I have until next week, Monday, to come back and let you know what I've decided on that. So again, with all of these archetypes, with all of these codes, our ability to delete things that are no longer serving us, that are weighing us down, right? When we cut those things out, it really expands our capacity to grow. And when we're resistant to it, that is our code in action, right? Our nervous system is responding like, change is happening. Oh my gosh, change is happening. Let's, right? Fight, flight, fawn, freeze will just come up. And this is also why I'm going to keep talking about the codes, because when you default to that way of operating, it's like, oh, oh my gosh, I'm fighting right now. I'm fighting to keep this. Oh, I'm over here looking at everything and not making a decision. I'm flighting around, not making a decision. So really, like, understanding your code is really going to help you skyrocket your business, because in just for the point of deletion, like for this episode, keeping things that are weighing you down past their expiration date is not serving you. So that being said, if you're having trouble deciding what to delete, step in, get a decoded session. We're going to identify what you're holding on to, like what's it costing you, and why your nervous system is asking you to hold on to it. Like, it's like, oh, it's like decluttering your closet, right? There are people who have the defaults. Like, I was talking to someone today at the gym, and they're like, oh yeah, my husband, he does not want to get rid of anything. Like every time, like, and there were sometimes she said, well, I just throw away things like when he's not looking, because I just have to, because he has a scarcity mindset where he holds on to things too long. And that's the thing that happens in your business too. Like, you hold on to things for too long based on like your nervous system response, your time wheel quadrant. All of these are factors in your codes and how you make decisions, how you delete things. And so, right inside of the decoding sessions, what we do is we look at all of it and like, okay, yes, this is a code. And this is the way you get around the code to get the thing that you actually want, right? Creating the space in your business, like deleting the things, making the decisions. So again, the decoded sessions are here for you. And if you want help making decisions, if you want help deleting things, just clearing the space to make room for expansion and growth in your business, that's what these sessions are for. So anyway, go ahead. Link is in the show notes. Book your session. I can't wait to talk to you. So again, thank you for listening. Thank you for being here for another episode of the Decoded Leadership podcast. And I will see you guys again next time.